Hi everybody, this video is about what you do once you've got your saxophone in tune. So you've used your tuner, and if you've gone through the previous video I showed you how to tune your saxophone up and explained why it would be sharp or flat, the reasons behind that. So this video is more about what do you do once you're in tune. Okay, we did an element of long note practice in order to get the saxophone in tune in the first place. But long note practice will really develop your embouchure, but it's also about developing your breathing and the length of time that you can hold a note for, and controlling your diaphragm muscle, which is underneath your lungs down here. A lot of people talk about diaphragmatic breathing or diaphragm breathing. You don't really know where your diaphragm is. It's somewhere underneath here. But I find it much easier to think about using your stomach muscles. Some people talk about pulling your stomach muscles in. Some people talk about pulling your stomach muscles out. It's just important that the breath or the support for the breath comes from down here and is not just chest breath up here. Quite often, if you go to the doctor, somebody will ask you to take a deep breath. You'll go, and all your shoulders will go up and your chest will come out, and that means you're just chest breathing. You're not really taking a deep breath at all. You're just breathing into this chest area. So you're trying to sink the air down into this position here. How much you can sink the air and how much support you can give the note kind of not only dictates how long you can hold a note, but also kind of what kind of tone you're getting, whether it sounds supported or whether it sounds weak because the airflow is weak. Okay, so we've got to try to develop this air pressure that's coming up through here and then coming straight through your lips and your jaw into the mouthpiece. It doesn't want to bottle up here. If you blow your cheeks out as if you were blowing up a balloon and there's too much pressure here, then that won't result in a very great sound, because you'll be squeezing too much, and a lot of the air will be going out into here. So you've got to imagine that you're blowing down through a straw into the instrument, and the air is going right through the instrument and out the bell at the other end and across the room. So when you go to play a long note, you want to be breathing, first of all, trying to sink your air down into here. So when I breathe in, nothing moves up here, it's all going down into this area here. And then as I go to play a note, my stomach muscles tense, and I'm supporting the air that's coming back through the saxophone. So I'll just do this on a B. Okay, so of course you're not going to be able to hold a note for as long as that when you first start playing, but the idea is to gradually cultivate the length of time that you can play the note for. You don't want to be forcing yourself into a feeling where you feel dizzy, or you're hyperventilating because you're either getting too much air or you're running out of air. You don't want to do that. So you want to gradually increase the length of which you can play a note. You can do this by using your metronome and get your metronome set up on 60 BPM, and then just let it click and see how many clicks you can hold a note for. And then just as you gradually try to increase the length of note over a few weeks, you should be able to hold at least 2 bars, so 8 clicks at 60 BPM. Most of the time you only need to breathe every 2 bars. So if you can play 2 bars at 60, you know that you're covered for most music, and as you carry on playing, your breath control will develop even more. Okay, so what do I do when I practice when I'm playing long notes? Well, I'm using my tuner to make sure I'm in tune, but I also need to make sure that the air is supported. I don't want a weak airflow, because if I get a weak airflow, I might not change in pitch, but the volume will change, and I want to keep a continuous volume. So I'm trying to get the note to be at the same volume and at the same pitch. Okay, so I wasn't that happy with that A. It was in tune. It didn't sound great. So part of it was to do with the fact that there was a bit of saliva rattling around on my reed, And part of it was just the way I was kind of approaching the note and blowing the note. Okay, and it's this point in your practice where you can start to see what happens if I move my lip a little bit forward, or what happens if I move my lip a little bit back, or what happens if I feel like I'm opening my throat a little bit more, or I'm closing my throat down. What happens if I move my tongue position in my mouth? Does that make my tone better, or does that make my tone worse? Part of knowing what tone you're going for means you need to listen to a lot of saxophone players so that you can hear what their innate tone is, and then you can aim for the kind of tone you want to produce. Saxophone's very much like singing. Your vocal cords and your mouth shape and everything else will make you sound a certain way, and really everybody's got a slightly different tone. Regardless of the reed, mouth piece and saxophone they use, that's a whole nother story. But it's mostly about their physicality, how their body's made up, and which is going to dictate the kind of sound they're going to get. It all starts here and in your throat, and then down in this column of air that's coming up, and how you support the air. That's all part of your tone. It's not just the reed, the mouthpiece, and the saxophone that's going to do that, although that does have a contributing factor. Okay, so what I would do is you get your saxophone in tune, then you spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes just blowing long notes and just seeing what those notes sound like. Once you feel like you can do that, and you've got really good clean notes and they're not varying in pitch or volume, you can start to try and play them at different volumes. So this is called terrace dynamics. Dynamics are the volume at which you play notes in music. So a louder dynamic, it just means that you're playing louder, and a quieter dynamic means you're playing softer. Okay, so I'm just going to play a little bit quieter. I still need to look at my tuner to make sure I'm in tune. As you start to change the volume of the notes, it can also affect the tuning. So sometimes you need to tighten your embouchure up a little bit, or loosen it off a little bit when you play a little bit quieter or louder. Okay, so I'm still needing the same amount of support of air as I had when I was playing louder. The support doesn't change. I just restrict the air. I don't let the air out as quickly, so the air is not moving quite as fast. But I still need the same pressure and support to get that note to sound good. And as you go and you play through these notes, you'll start to notice, as you looked on the tuner, you can see that sometimes I'm coming in a little bit flat, maybe I'm going up a little bit sharp. So when I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to adjust it to get it in pitch, but I'm also listening for the tone, and what it sounds like. And it might be that, when I've got my best tone, I'm playing marginally sharp or marginally flat, because that might be the kind of sound I'm going for. So it doesn't have to be always bang on in the middle. But if you're getting 10 cents sharp or 10 cents flat, then that probably suggests that you need to do some more with your embouchure or supporting your air. So I just suggest that no matter how many notes you know on the instrument, you always want to start off on something, and you always want to start off on a note that's fairly easy to tune and fairly easy to play. So most people start learning to play a B. That's their first note that they learn. So I still go back, even after 30 odd years of playing, I still go back and play a B, when I'm starting doing this long note practice. And then I gradually work down, or I gradually work up. I may well end up playing long notes over the whole range of the instrument. When I'm warming up, but obviously you have to learn the notes and you have to develop that. So I'm just going to stick in the middle a minute. I'm just going to play chromatically down from a B down to a G. And you can see that whilst I was doing that, the tuner was always on the green. So in order to make it or allow it to do that, you've got to be making sure that you're playing notes slow enough. This is another reason for playing notes slowly, playing things slowly, and playing long notes. It's so that you can give the tuner a chance to register and you can see what's going on, and then you can make appropriate adjustments. Okay, so once you've tuned up, you then need to do some sort of long notes, 5-10 minutes to start with, you know, just to kind of develop it. And whatever notes you know, you'll start to realize that some notes are easier to keep in tune than the others. And sometimes it's a good idea to play a really easy note and then work on a note that's not so easy to play in tune, and build it up from there. Okay, thanks a lot. See you soon.